The Rokker Urban Rebel boot. Now, I'm not entirely sure about their choice of name, but I am absolutely sure that I love that brand and I really like their footwear if the Urban Racer is anything to base that on, which obviously shares a lot of similarities with these shoes. And the reason I like it a lot is because I have a pair and I've had them for 5 years and they've lasted me so well over that time. They are my go-to footwear on and off the bike. They're just my favorite boots. Even if I'm just going for a walk around, I tend to wear them because I love the style and I love the comfort. The differences between the two are that these are slightly lighter, slightly more comfortable, possibly because of that, and they have a slightly thinner leather, so potentially a little bit more flexible as well. Most notably around your ankle, where on the Urban Racer you have that padding, that padded section. The rest of the leather around the ankle is actually a little bit thinner. And the boots themselves actually come in, I think, 800 grams, where the Urban Racer is 900 grams. Obviously, you're not going to feel that on the bike, but if you're walking around, you might benefit from a slightly lighter shoe. Before I go too much further, though, I am going to do a little bit of show and tell, as I actually wore my Urban Racer boots in today, just for reference, to compare and contrast. And I've put the two on. I can confirm they are slightly heavier, not too badly so. I mean, I wasn't walking around in circles or anything that extreme, but I could tell there was a slight difference between them. Obviously, I've owned these for a while, so they fit my feet like a glove. That's a bad analogy. They fit like a shoe, but they fit me really, really well, where obviously these would take a little bit of breaking in. And that is something to note about Rokker boots, actually, is they do take a bit of time to break in, but I think with any quality footwear, it should take a little bit of time to break in. And then once it is, honestly, it's so comfortable. Whilst I have my worn-in boots in front of me, though, let me just explain. I've had these boots for 5 years plus, and I have not been delicate about the way I've used them at all. As I say, I use them on and off the bike, so they get plenty of use in all weather types, in all riding conditions and riding types as well. Short of taking them on the track, where I may well get some frowns from people, everything else that you can do on a bike, I've done in these boots, and they've stood the test of time really well. There are some scuffs, there are some little bits of patina across it. I'm going to call them character, so I know that they're mine. I could pick them out of a lineup, and I have retreated them as well. I've actually used a waterproof beeswax on these in the past. I've used other leather treatments as well, a handful of times, just to keep the leather in good condition. But everything else I've kind of neglected, short of cleaning them ever so occasionally when they get too caked in mud. But generally speaking, I haven't done a lot to them at all. And the sole actually is the big deal for me. That's still working well. I was expecting to have to resole these at some point, still not quite there yet. And that's, as I say, after 5 years of usage, so pretty tough. Because I've retreated them, they are also waterproof. And these boots are going to be listed as either water resistant or waterproof. They haven't got a membrane, so they're not a dedicated waterproof boot, but they actually do a lot better than some fully waterproof boots that I've bought in the past. Part of that will be because the leather that they've got on this actually has a coating or a treatment to it, so it is water repellent. And part of that will be to do with the way that the sole is actually fastened and the stitching as well. But I have been caught out more than a few times in these. Whenever I pull up at my final destination, my feet are bone dry, which always surprises me and makes me very happy that I don't have to go and dry out my socks. But back to the new, shiny and prettier looking ones. We have the Urban Rebel, as I say. So to start with, they are a cowhide construction on the outer. That is water repellent, it's got a treatment to it. In terms of the way they fasten the boot itself or the upper to the sole, it's called a Goodyear welt, which is a time-tested, reliable and very traditional way of making boots. As well as that helping to make these watertight, it also makes them comfortable because what they use is a thin layer of cork actually in the sole of the shoe, which over time molds to your foot. Now, I alluded to the fact they take a little while to break in. They do, but once that cork is molded to your foot, you will get a fit like no other. But honestly, the comfort speaks for itself. You've then got reinforcement in your toe, you've got reinforcement in your heel, you actually have a shank in the sole as well, and you'll see the word Vibram printed down there as well to indicate that this is a Vibram sole, which is another fantastic company. They make great soles for lots of footwear. You'll see it on loads of the stuff in here, some of the higher end stuff, because it is abrasion resistant, it's anti-slip, and it is very long lasting. They then break it up slightly with this light section of leather between the sole and the upper, and that's the same on the brown, but it stands out a little bit more on the black. They've got the Rokker logo embossed on your heel, and you've got an extra section of leather on the left and right for symmetry, but predominantly used on the left, obviously around the gear shifter to make it tougher so it doesn't wear through. Then you've got this loop at the back, so it's easy to get on. You've got these tough laces, these eyelets, so you can lace it all the way to the top. The boot itself, I believe, is about 20 centimeters in height. And although it hasn't got the same kind of ankle padding, and you could argue slightly less ankle reinforcements, the Urban Racer actually doesn't have any dedicated ankle protection. It's just nice and tough. These are still nice and tough, so if you do lace them up good and tight, you're not going to be at risk of rolling your ankle in these either. But ultimately, with the style of these boots, the clothing that you might well couple with them, and the types of riding that you'd be doing, these are urban boots at the end of the day. They are very stylish, very clean looking. I'd say the Urban Racer looks a little bit more military, where these look more discreet, more subtle, slightly lighter, as I mentioned. So ultimately, these are designed so that if you are walking around town off your bike, you can be slightly more comfortable and less conspicuous as well. If I were naming it myself, I probably wouldn't have gone with the word rebel. I'd have probably gone with the Urban Gentleman because they seem more like gentleman's shoes. If you're out on the Distinguished Gentleman's Ride, for example, these are going to be a great choice. But crucially, if mine are anything to go by, and my countless friends actually who have the same boots and aren't delicate with theirs either, these are the kind of boots that are going to last you a long while. There is an argument, there is a balance as to whether or not you buy something slightly more expensive or something slightly cheaper with the expectation that you'll have to change it at some point. I am a massive advocate of buying expensive once rather than buying cheap twice. And if I get to wear the thing I really wanted to buy in the first place and I'm more comfortable because of it, then it's an easy decision for me. Either colourway comes in at £329. Check our website for the sizing. I'm going to say from my own experience, from the guys in here as well, these are very true to size, but check that just before you order all the same. I will drop links in the description if you want to check these out for yourselves. I'll also drop links for the Urban Racer if you want to see those instead and just compare and contrast. Leave your questions and comments down below as normal, and for more of the world's finest riding gear, stay tuned to Urban Rider. Thank you.